All right, thank you and welcome to the latest edition of APP's Big Family Meeting. We are rocking and rolling for the American family, organizing families in politics to fight the enemies of the American way of life. And today we are so thankful and honored to have a true hero, not just of mine personally, but of APP's and I think of America, is General Paxton from the great state of Texas. He's joining us today. We're going to talk about the Texas Heartbeat Bill, the unique nature of that. We're going to talk about the gender identity issues going on in Texas. And then we're going to talk a little bit about vaccine mandates. Those questions have been rolling through over the last few weeks. So General Paxton, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, Terry, thanks for having me on. I always enjoy being with you, and I love what you guys do. So, real privilege and pleasure for me to be on with you today.
Well, you are fighting like crazy in Texas every day, and it's not just on the issues we're going to be talking about today, but it's everything. You're a champion. You're not afraid to take on these big, powerful people who are trying to take away our rights. But I want to get right into the heart of this. This issue of this Texas Heartbeat Bill. It's sent shockwaves throughout the nation. And I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about where that bill stands right now and what you think is going to end up happening with it.
So the bill is alive and well, just like a lot of the unborn children in Texas. So it's the first time in decades that the unborn can potentially survive the abortion doctors in Texas. So we're pretty excited about that. I think it's about 150 babies a day that survive because that bill is still in place. And I commend the Texas legislature and the governor of Texas for signing that bill because it does what it says. It allows for those that have a heartbeat to survive in Texas, and it gives a private cause of action to anybody to sue the abortion doctor or anybody that provides an abortion once the baby has a heartbeat.
It's truly incredible, and I've seen estimates that show that estimate that there are over 150 babies a day that are being saved from this law, which is really incredible. I mean, if you just do the math on that, it's been, this is September 15th, so it's 15 times 150. That's over 2,200 unborn babies. It's quite a miracle you guys pulled off in Texas.
It's really exciting. Every day that I get up, I think, okay, one more day, 150 babies, and I know that makes the liberal pro-abortion groups very upset, but it's very exciting to those who have children, who know what life means and know that every day 150 more children get to live. It's pretty exciting.
It's great. One of the things that's most controversial about this law is the private enforcement mechanism, the private right of action that they put in here. A lot of people don't understand that this law actually isn't enforced by the government or by the state of Texas itself. I'm wondering, it's sent, like, the left is, they usually beat us on these legal issues, except, when you're at the Supreme Court, we usually win those cases. But I'm wondering, what's with this private right of action? Can it be used on other issues? And is the left going to be able to strike this down at the Supreme Court? Or, what do you think the efficacy of this effort is?
Look, I know that the Texas legislature passed a law that they believe in. They were elected by their people to represent those people. This is what the people of Texas elected people to do. And so this is the way it should be. I mean, in 1972, the Supreme Court took over an issue that was controlled by the states. All these other medical procedures are governed by state law, and all of a sudden in 1972, the Supreme Court started legislating, and that legislation was kind of uncertain. It started off with trimester, which made no sense, and has gone to other tests and has created a lot of confusion, made it difficult for states to know what to do and how to react and how to regulate abortion. And so the ideal thing here is this gives individuals a private cause of action. It doesn't relate to the state in any way, other than that the courts are opened up to hear cases where an abortion has been provided or performed on a baby that has a heartbeat. And I think that's significant. I think that the states should be the ones making these decisions about abortion, not 9 justices on the Supreme Court.
One thing that's been coming up, especially with Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General of the United States, and Joe Biden, they both keep saying that this bill is unconstitutional. What would you say to them?
Look, we all know I went to law school. My professor admitted, and he was an avowed, liberal. He admitted that Roe v. Wade was made up. There was no precedent for it. And that's not the way it's supposed to work. These were state laws that the Supreme Court struck down. And so they can say it's unconstitutional, but the reality is, we have this Mississippi case that has a 15-week ban. It's going to the U.S. Supreme Court. Texas filed an amicus brief with 23 other states. It's the largest effort by 25 states to overturn Roe v. Wade, because the reality is it hasn't worked. The law continues to change really almost every day, because we have different Supreme Court justices coming on. There's no certainty about what the law is. It can change, with the next case, and it does. And so it needs to go back to the states. It needs to be controlled by the states. And I just say that's the way it has been for, decades. It was governed by the states. And there's no reason that the Supreme Court should take over an issue and decide that there's a right to privacy in the Constitution, which we all know was made up by the Supreme Court.
No, that's right. One of the, the one thing I'll just say is it's so odd being lectured about constitutionality by the likes of Joe Biden and Merrick Garland. I found that very comical.
Good point.
Especially in light of all the vaccine mandates and all of the coercion.
Not only that, we have all these lawsuits against the Biden administration over immigration, the Keystone Pipeline. They look at federal law as like a sort of a, our choice, your choice. We don't follow federal law. You might have to, but we don't follow these federal laws related to immigration or the Keystone Pipeline or other federal laws. So it is a little bit of a joke for them to tell us what the Constitution says when they don't bother to follow it every day.
No, that's right. That's right. They never follow it. They follow it when they like to. One question that came from Luke, who's actually out of Dallas, Texas. He brought up the move from Governor Abbott. He asked the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services to clarify if these gender modification treatments, I'm sorry, we're changing gears a little bit from the abortion issue to the gender identification or gender identity issue with children. A lot of people don't know this, but children across the country are beginning to do transition services. So they're getting hormone treatments. Some of them as young as 15 years old are getting surgeries and operations. And Governor Abbott asked the Department of Family and Protective Services in Texas to clarify if these types of procedures constitute child abuse. Apparently they came back and did say that these surgeries did constitute child abuse, but it's a little odd because this issue has been absent from the recent special session that Governor Abbott's called to order. What can your office do to help protect kids that are in these circumstances that are being taken advantage of? Many people think they're being taken advantage of by the medical community to make money off of them, and these surgeries are permanent. They sterilize children. Something that they really can't consent to in a lot of ways.
Yeah, as my job is to follow whatever laws are in place. I can't speculate as to why this has not been put into a special session, because I think the law is not necessarily favorable. I do think this is child abuse. I do think that these children should be protected until they're at least, the age of consent, because these are procedures that impact them for the rest of their lives. And as all the research is showing, I think these kids that are transitioned are 19 or 18 more times likely to commit suicide, and 80 to 95% of them, if they're left alone, end up resolving these issues of gender identity over time. And I think these children are too young to come in and change their biology, and I think it's really unfair to them to do that. And I do believe that parents should just let them be as they are, as they were born, and they can make their own decisions down the road.
Yeah, I think that's generally the agreement that we have in the United States is, leave the little kids alone until they turn 18. And then after that, they have a lot more leeway and are able to do a lot more things. It's kind of weird. You can't get a tattoo before you're 18. So why should you be able to get, gender modification services before you're 18? It's kind of crazy. The one question that kept coming up, and this has been huge, and I'm sure you were expecting this to come up, but this kept coming up so much. It was the most asked question. It was about vaccine mandates, General. And one person put it best. They said a big issue that's concerning my family is is that the Biden administration's vaccine mandates are unconstitutional. What is the state of Texas doing to oppose these types of mandates and restrictions?
Well, that's a great question. The president talked about this. He said that these mandates are going to be issued. Of course, a couple of months ago, he and his vice president, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, other leaders of the Democratic Party said that this would never happen. But clearly that is not the case. They have a 180-degree switch, which is interesting that they've all switched. And I would ask them, first of all, why is this happening, especially given the fact that the border is wide open with 212,000 people crossing a month or more. And they take these people, they invite them in. They don't follow federal law. Back to the Constitution, they don't follow federal law as it relates to their duty to follow it and their duty under the Constitution to follow it. And they let these people in with COVID, and they send them all over the country. They don't tell us where they're going, and they spread COVID. On the other hand, they lecture Americans, and they want to require Americans to get a vaccine that they don't even require of these illegal immigrants. They spread COVID with all over the country. So something is really missing from their arguments, and it really doesn't make sense to me that they actually care about COVID if they're letting it into the country. But despite all of that, we don't have a rule issued by OSHA yet or any other agency. So we can't really file. I know Arizona's filed, but the reality is it would be premature, and it is premature because we don't know what they're going to issue. And it would be likely dismissed. I think probably 100% dismissed if we filed something now before we, read the bill or read the regulation or whatever they're going to do. And so we're waiting to find out what they actually put there. But if it's as the president says, and they're going to require businesses to require individuals, then we're going to certainly argue many things. But the first thing is, hey, the president can't just make up new laws and require people to get vaccines. That's unconstitutional. And so, the president's all concerned about the Constitution as it relates to abortion, but as it relates to ordering you, the American people, to get the vaccine, he doesn't worry about the Constitution so much.
No, that is very clear. The other aspect of these vaccine mandates that kept coming up was the issue of restricting the ability for the unvaccinated to fly. Have you heard anything about this? Are you worried that the federal government could try and basically ban unvaccinated people from flying?
Of course I'm worried about that. I mean, they already told us they would never require vaccines for working or anything else, and suddenly now they are. So of course, everything's on the table. And I wouldn't be surprised if they required vaccines for all kinds of different things. It seems like they're trying to create a dichotomy in America of those who are vaccinated, those who are unvaccinated. Doesn't even take into account people who have had COVID and who already have developed immunities naturally. So it's a little concerning. The federal government is so interested in controlling our lives and ordering us to get vaccines, controlling whether we fly, maybe whether we have a job, whether we get to go to certain sporting events. Who knows what they're going to do, but it looks to me more like government control than actually doing anything about our health.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. General, that is all the questions that I have, and I just want to reiterate, I want to say I do have one major problem with you, and that's that there's only one of you.
Well, I appreciate that.
I wish we had a General Paxton in all 50 states, and we'd be a lot better off. I know that you were one of the top requested people from all of our members and supporters to do this, so we're just so thankful. Is there anything you want to close us out with, and any message that you want to send to all of our big family members?
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows Benjamin Franklin. And one of the things he said was when they were fighting the British and fighting for the freedom that they created in this country that is unlike any other country that has ever existed, he said, look, and it sounds so colloquial from a guy like Benjamin Franklin, he said, we either hang together or we hang alone. And the reality is we're at that point in our country where the government is becoming very oppressive, very almost tyrannical in how they are trying to control us, and how they're using different techniques to control us and threatening us either through the IRS or through law enforcement. And the reality is we can't let that make us fear, because we've had many people die in this country, literally thousands upon thousands die for this freedom. We have to be willing to speak out and take the risk that the government may punish us individually, but if we all speak out, we all say, hey, the Constitution matters. The Declaration of Independence is where we get our rights, not from the government. And so we need to speak out. We need to say what the truth is. And we need to defend those rights that were given to us by God, not by Joe Biden or by any government that has ever existed in this country.
Well, you said it best, General. I'm looking forward. We have some big announcements regarding Texas that we'll be unveiling in the coming weeks. I'm excited to share it all with you, but you're going to have to be very patient as we roll them out. But General, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to staying in touch. And we'll be sure to have your back when it comes time to it. We don't want you to hang alone. We'll be hanging with you.
That sounds great. Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it.
Thanks, General. Yep, we'll see you.